Welcome to our series, Breaking Through for Mission Advantage, where we look at how the strategic shift to integrated software-defined IT platforms can help agencies achieve greater mission outcomes. I'm Wyatt Cash with Scoop News Group, and here to talk about how the IRS is leveraging these technologies to modernize its infrastructure is Kaschit Pandya, Acting Chief Information Officer at the IRS. Kaschit, thank you so much for joining us. And let me start by asking, what key technology initiatives is the IRS implementing or considering in the way of infrastructure modernization to improve mission outcomes?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me on your program. It's a great opportunity for me to be able to share all of the exciting things that we're doing here at the IRS. Of course, almost everyone knows the IRS and our role in collecting federal taxes. But what not many realize is the scale and scope of what we're doing to modernize the agency's technology infrastructure. And it truly is impressive. And frankly, we have a lot to celebrate when it comes to technology modernization. We've gone from having an old network and dated hardware to beating industry standards in many cases. That kind of success with modernization is important because technology, as we know, is the backbone of what makes our nation's taxes system function. Technology is what makes it possible for us to send out your refunds in 21 days or less, to address your questions, whether it's online or by phone, to protect your data, and so much more. The technology transformation underway right now at the IRS is incredibly important. And there are so many different things I know I can speak about, but let me talk about a few different areas that we are focused on right now. First and foremost, I talked about our network. We have upgraded our network to 10G. What does that mean? It means that our internal employees are now able to operate on a high-performing network using cloud-based solutions. That has a ripple effect in terms of the kind of customer service that we can now provide, including services on the phone. Most people, when they call or engage with the IRS, they call us, and we've made it even less likely that you will need to wait on hold. And that's because we have expanded the availability of our customer callback option, which now covers up to 95% of taxpayers seeking live assistance. Another example of what we've done to simplify and really speed up the process of getting answers to your tax questions is by introducing new voice bots and chatbots in English and in Spanish. And these bots have been helping millions of taxpayers avoiding wait times and ultimately settling their tax bills or getting the assistance they need without necessarily having to call and speak with somebody. Just one more example. We're also using machine translation and other tools where we can automate. And the reason for that is because it gives us the opportunity to expedite how we deliver services to our taxpayers. For example, we recently launched a capability that enables us to reduce the time we need to accurately and consistently translate products from English to Spanish by up to 90%. So improving the taxpayer experience to anyone interacting with the IRS, whether it's a taxpayer, a business, a nonprofit, or even our own employees, is a center part of our technology transformation that is currently underway.
Well, I'm curious to get your opinions. Can you talk about the consequences that agencies face when they're not able to make these kinds of modernization moves? And specifically, what's the impact on the taxpayer or citizen experience? And I know the IRS has kind of struggled through that in recent years until they've got some fresh funding. So you're probably in a particularly interesting position to comment on that.
Yes, thank you. That's a great question. So just to give you some background here, on October 3rd this year, the IRS commemorated what's globally known as Customer Experience Day. I think that speaks a lot about our commissioner and the dedicated public servants who make up the IRS workforce. At the IRS, it was an opportunity and a day for us to recognize the people who work hard every single day to deliver a better experience for the people who need to interact with the agency. And we have a lot to celebrate. We took the opportunity not simply to call out the day for what it was, but we truly celebrated the day because thanks to the funding from the Inflation Reduction Act, we have made some significant improvements. For example, this past filing season, we were able to answer 3 million more calls, and we cut the wait time on the phone from 28 minutes to 3 minutes during filing season. Now, that's a drastic improvement that is measurable and meaningful to our taxpayers. We also opened or reopened 35 taxpayer assistance centers and offered community assistant visits in underserved areas. What's typically working behind the scenes and therefore is less known is the technology modernization and the role that technology plays in the progress that we've been able to make. Ultimately, through these modernization efforts, we've been able to deliver better service, we have expanded customer service options, and we have helped the IRS go digital with our new paperless processing initiative. Now, there is a lot of customer-facing improvements that I've spoken about. From an infrastructure perspective, our vision is to work in an always-on mode. What do I mean by that? We want to build redundancy into our mission critical systems. We have redundant power sources built into both of our IRS data centers, which enable us to continue operations during any possible unplanned outages. We operate in multiple clouds, and the benefit there is the ability for us to scale up and down depending on the volume, depending on the times of the year, and as needed. And of course, at the forefront of all the things that we do in the technology space, we have invested heavily in cybersecurity. And we do so because we know that we have been tasked with protecting taxpayer data, data that is so absolutely critical and sensitive and private, that we take our cybersecurity with the utmost of importance. It is always baked in, never bolted on. So we are here to protect the cybersecurity or the agency's assets against any cyber threats. But as I've said, there's customer facing, there's the internal infrastructure. We are just thrilled to have the opportunity to deliver more and better services to the American people.
And then lastly, can you comment a little bit more specifically, how has software-defined IT modernization translated into improving your infrastructure reliability? You mentioned cybersecurity as well, but how have those changes really made an impact across your agency? And at the end of the day, what does good look like when you're done with this process?
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic question, Wyatt. So there are some very clear indicators of success when it comes to modernizing the IRS, and I'm pleased to report that we are well on our way. Our teams have done some incredible work over the course of the last year since the Inflation Reduction Act funding provided to us. And one indicator of success is whether taxpayers can more quickly resolve tax issues with the IRS. One of the ways that we're enabling that progress is by enhancing our suite of online tools that we are currently offering our taxpayers and businesses. For example, I talked about a little bit and touched on our taxpayer-facing voice bots and chatbots in operations today. These technologies are helping taxpayers answer key questions on key notices, tax payments, and get their assistance without having to wait for the availability of a live agent. I'm also thrilled to report that just last week, we launched our first ever business account, online business tax account, which is another step in transforming the way that business taxpayers interact with the IRS. For those individuals who are familiar with our individual online account, the business online account is the equivalent for our business users. And it was something that we had been working towards for quite some time. The Inflation Reduction Act funding certainly helped us accelerate and deliver that quickly. Another indicator of success is whether our modernization efforts truly improve the accessibility of the IRS and reduce the risk of human errors. For example, we've taken some really critical steps in automating and improving how IRS provides multilingual services. The machine translation capability that I mentioned a short while ago that we just deployed reduces translation and review times by over 90%. We have now been improving features available through individual online accounts, in addition to deploying our first ever business online account. The individual online account is the online tool that lets you see your balance due, make payments, and so much more. The news here is that we also recently deployed an API that essentially confirms that you have validated or entered your valid bank account and routing number. Why is this important for the taxpayers and for individuals using that service? Now you don't longer have to wait until we have processed that information in the back end and then find out that perhaps you might have erroneously put information in. This is real-time feedback and response to an information that you are submitting to let you know that it has been accepted or you need to update it. As you can tell, I am very, very excited about all the things that we have been doing, and I love highlighting the progress that we've been able to make. You know, we are focused on three key areas. One, providing better service. We want to be accessible to the taxpayers in the manner in which they need to access us, whether it's by phone and making sure that they don't have to wait on hold too long, by giving them access to chatbots so they can engage with us, or not, if they prefer to, troubleshoot the issues on their own, voice bots, and of course, live agents being available via our website. Second, cybersecurity. As I've said, and I will continue to stress, the importance of security and making sure that we are doing every single thing possible to keep the data safe for the American people. We take it very, very seriously, and it is always something that is in all of our collective minds, not just a technology responsibility. It is the IRS responsibility, and we all take it very, very seriously. And being that it's October 13th, we are right around the corner with our next filing season. So we are actively getting ready for filing season and making sure, again, that the experience that our American taxpayers have is the best one possible. So we are dedicated to improving the experience across the board. Some of the taxpayers and the business users and the nonprofit and others will be able to see. Some of it will be behind the scenes for our own employees, and some of it simply will be hidden, but contributing to the overall experience across the board.
Well, Kaschit Pandya, it sounds like it's a very exciting time at the IRS to be able to really fast forward the implementation of technology modernization. And one gathers that it's also easy to see just the importance of that in the ability to scale. And certainly I can't imagine really another agency that requires scale more than the IRS. So thank you for sharing some of these gains that you've made recently, and we look forward to hearing more about them in the months and years ahead. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed the opportunity to be able to share our story and the exciting times here.